Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Let's discuss about Git's version control system and command prompt. Now let's take a look at Git first. Now Git is a distributed version control system. It's a tool used by developers to manage source code. So in simple terms, Git is like a way for you to keep track of what you are doing when you're writing code. Let's take for example, you develop an application and then let's say you have about 5 features at the beginning. Like after you develop the main application, you have like 5 features, fine, but then you decide to add like 2 more features as a developer, fine, but then you made some mistakes and then the entire application stops working. It's not just some easy thing to just go back to do it as before, right? So now Git enables us to do this. It keeps track of versions of code that we write in form of something like snapshots. So like every change, every update that you make can be kept. So you can go back to this specific update or that specific update that you made in the past. So now let's take a look at what Git is and how to install Git. So let's take a look at Google, search Git. Now to install Git, you can see we have downloads for Google or for Windows. Let's take a look at how to install Git for Windows. So now Git for Windows, if you have a 32-bit setup, you click this to download. If you have a 64-bit, click this to download for the installer, fine. But now if you want to use it as a thumb drive edition, like you just want to connect a flash drive and use Git on any device that you have, you can download these ones, but I prefer the installer, so you can go with this. So if we're using the MacBook also, let's take a look at Git for Mac OS. Now you can see Brew install Git. So you can also open your device to install your command prompt to install Git, or let's see if you can find a binary installer. Yeah, you can click this to download the binary installer and install on your operating system, your computer. And let's take a look at the Linux. So let's say Git for Linux. So now Git for Linux, you can just run this command in the terminal, or let's say if you can find the file to download turbo from source. So on Linux, you can use command to install things. We'll take a look at that in a very short time. So now, before we understand Git, let's take a look at what is used for and how it's used. Now Git, and this is my GitHub profile, for example. This is like an account on GitHub. So now GitHub is like a remote host that uses Git, fine. So you can have repositories. So let's take a look at a few uses and examples of Git use cases in this case. So now Git enables you to collaborate on projects. So let's say you are about 3 people working on a single project, writing code. Let's say you are about 3 in your team, you're trying to develop a web application, fine. So if everyone is supposed to be writing on the same set of files, don't you think that will become messy quite quickly? So what Git enables you to do is you have like a remote space where you can keep files. So let's say on my local computer, I create a few files, write some code, then I can upload it to that space that we have on the internet, which is a repository in GitHub. Now someone else, let's say the second person on the team, needs to make a few changes. So they pull they collect that data that I uploaded, the files that I uploaded. They make their own changes and also upload it. The third person does the same. So now we are working on the same project and we have the same files, even though we are editing on different computers. And the second case is for production. When you have a very big code base, which is a set of files that make up a computer program or a web application or a mobile application or whatever it is you are developing. Now the code base, usually in very big project, consists of hundreds of files. Now keeping track of these things might be very hard, right? So now Git enables us to manage this, to keep track of changes, what is going on where, and in order not to break things really, because it's very easy to break production code. Now we've taken a look at installation. So now let's take a look at how to install on a Linux operating system. I'm on a Linux operating system currently, so you can see how that works. Now this is the command line interface, the command prompt. I would explain how this works to you in just a moment. For now, just forget about everything else. And this is how to install Git on your Linux operating system. So it's a sudo apt. You can easily find your terminal command prompts using terminal. You can see the application shows here. So let me go back. I have the terminal open already. So now let's say sudo apt get install -y git. So now enter, and this would install git. But now I have to provide my password to verify that I'm the one using the computer currently. Enter, and now you can see reading package list. But you can see I already have git installed, so it's saying git is already installed and it's the newest version, so it was not upgraded. So I already have git fine. But if you don't have git before, it would like take a few seconds or minutes depending on your speed, and then it will install git for you. So to verify that you have git installed, you can just open your command prompt. You can find that in Windows by typing your start or clicking your start bar and typing cmd, or in macOS terminal, and then you find your command prompt or terminal. Then it's usually black and white, so you can easily recognize it. So let's just take a look at a few things, a few the way it looks like on different operating systems. So let's say cmd on Windows. So yeah, now you can see what it looks like on a Windows operating system, something like this here, black and white stuff. So this is what it looks like on Windows. And then on Mac OS, cmd on Mac. This cmd is terminal on Mac OS, right? Terminal on. Yep. So yeah, so this is what it looks like on the Mac OS. Quite similar to what I have here. I made a few changes to my theme, so it looks like this on Mac OS. So fine, let's now go back to our terminal, or let's take a look at some few keywords that are related to Git and GitHub in this case. So now we have repositories. So repositories is what I said before, like about a space that you have to upload code. And repositories enables you to like create multiple projects, like a project for a repository and so on. So this is a repository. I have a number of them. Now these repositories are like places that you upload files to. So like multiple can work on the same project, things like that. Now cloning is the simple process of downloading the contents of a repository to your local computer. Now also committing is like creating a snapshot of your code for the current one that you have. Like let's say I have a few files, I have like 3 files. When I run commit on my GitHub repository, it creates a snapshot and saves it to my computer, so I can upload it later and then I can go back to it if I want. So now also pushing is the is uploading your current commit to the remote repository, which is like this one I have on my GitHub. Now also branches are like different blocks or different, how do I call it? Like different versions of a repository. Let's say I have like, I'm working on 2 features simultaneously, but they are quite different. So I can create 2 different branches to work on 2 different things, then bring them back together to join as a single branch. So we'll understand how this works later. Just let's understand the keywords. We have the merge. It's combination of 2 branches. When you merge in Git, it means you combine 2 branches into one. When you pull, you are like pulling the changes, latest changes on the remote repository to your local device. Now let's take a look at how this works. First, let's create a new repository. Let me go back to my home page, my GitHub home page. So you can go ahead and create accounts, your GitHub accounts. Let me just take you through that. So you can just search GitHub. Now you can see, let's use an incognito tab so you can see the entire process. I'm logged in already, so I won't be able to create a new account. So let's say GitHub. Now you can see we have GitHub. Just open the first link that you have. Then you see create accounts. Okay, sign up for GitHub. Just click this button. Now you can provide your email address. So you can see, let's begin. Enter your email address. Let's say a dummy email address, dummy@yahoo.com. You continue. Create a password, whatever you want. Just make sure it's secure and you can remember it. So continue. Then the username, you have to make a unique username for yourself, all right? Like a programmer username, shadow worker, whatever it is. So let's say dummy user. Continue. Dummy user is not available. Someone else has already used this name. Let's say dummy user new. So let's continue. No, you can click that if you want, but so now you can see you have to verify that you're a real person. Audio, just follow this, right? So audio challenge. Which option is sound of cats? Type in your answer. So now what they did here is just they played an audio track of 3 different sounds as each option, and then told me to choose which one is a cat. So it's option 3 as I listened to it. So now we can go on. Now you can see which option is the sound of cats. Like there are 3 tests here. So let me go ahead and play. This is just to verify that you are a person. So now it's done. My account will be created. Create account. And then you receive an email to verify. But since I don't have the email, I cannot verify this. But just when you use your email, you check your code and then you input the code here to continue. And then you have your account created. So let's leave this. Now let me go back. Now that we have an account, let me go ahead and create a repository. You can see this, create a new repository. Let's say test repo. Now this is the name of my repository. Let me go ahead and you can provide a description, but it's not really necessary. So let's say test repository. So then you can just click create repository here, and then you have, yes. So now this is a repository, but it's empty for now. So let's go ahead and download this repository into our local device and then begin to upload files to it. So you can just go ahead and just copy the URL, including your username. So if you are trying to use this one, you'll be able to push because it's my own username that is there. But just go ahead and copy yours. Then you can come to your terminal. If you have Git installed, run git clone. As I said, git clone is the command, right? So clone enables you to download a repository from GitHub to your own local device. So now let me provide the link, and then I enter. You can see cloning into test repo. So let me just go ahead and open my files so you can see that this folder is actually created. So you can see you appear to have cloned an empty repository. As I said, it's empty for now. So if I should check my files here, you would see we have test repo. Yeah, so this is the repository. It's a folder in this case. So let's go ahead and leave that. Now we can, let's say, upload some files to our repository, right? So let me just go ahead and use my graphical user interface for this. Let me say I want to create a new file, or should I do here? So let me open text editor. So I'll create a file, store it in that specific folder, and then you can see what we can do with it. So let's go ahead and say test my GitHub repo. So now let me save. Now I'll make sure I save into the repository, right? So let me save it here. Let's say test file. Now it's normal convention to use underscores instead of spaces for your files because it makes them easier to find when you're working in your terminal. So let's say test file.txt, and then I save my file. No, why is this happening? Yeah, test file.txt. Now I've saved my file. Now you can see the file is actually showing in the repository. So now when you want to check the start, when you want to see what's going on in your repository, like you want to see if you have any changes that are yet to be committed, what you can go ahead and do is use the git status. On git status, no, I'm currently not in the repository, but for that, I will explain all of this to you in just a moment. So cd test repo. Now git status. So now you can see here on branch main. Now when you create a repository, there's a default branch. You can choose what it's called, but in this case, the default one is the main branch. So now you can see the branch here is main. You can see it's telling me on your main branch, there are no commits yet, which means you've not created any snapshots of your code currently. But now you can see also we have untracked files. So we have files that have currently not been added to any snapshots because the files are just there. We've not stored it in any way. We've not committed it. So now here you can see nothing added to commit, but untracked files are present. You can use git add to track. Now you can see the git add command enables you to add files onto the commit. It's like you want to store these specific files instead of this commit. So now let me say git add, and then the name of my file, which is test file.txt. When I run git status again, you can see we have no commits yet, but now you can see changes to be committed. Now it has stored this change. It's now ready to be committed. It's no more on track. Now let me say git commit. Now when I say git commit, it's going to create a snapshot, right? But now you don't just want to create a snapshot. You want to provide a message to that snapshot. So when you're trying to go back to it later, you can know that, okay, this is what I did in this specific snapshot. Now you can use -m as that for the message, and I'll say test commit. So now you can see in the main branch, root commit, this is the ID of the commit. This is the message, test commit, one file change. This is the details about our commit. You can see, right, one file has changed. We created one file, 3 insertions, and then we created this file. So that's the file that changed. So this provides details so you can keep an overview of what happened when you created a snapshot. But now when I run git push, you see one magic that happens. When I run, let me go back to my repository first. Let me reload so you can see nothing has changed for now. See, it's still all the same, right? It's still empty. But now when I run git push, some magic happens. Oh, crack. Yes, just before this, I would explain how this works to you in just a moment. Let's say hard, okay. I don't want that. So let me say clone. I would explain how this works to you in just a moment, so you just have to wait this out. Clone. This is just for security's sake, so now when I run git push again, does not match any. So git status. Okay. List my files again. Oh, now the file is deleted. So now let me run let me create my file again. Let me go ahead and save it again. Save, yeah. Yes. So now when I run git commit, git add, let me just go ahead and run the previous commands that we used to commit. So git add, then git commit, now git push, and here the magic happens. So now you can see enumerating 3 blah blah blah. Forget about this stuff for now, but now let's see the magic that happened in this case. When I reload my page, now you can see we have one file. That file that we created in our computer is now showing in this repository. As you can see now, hello test, my GitHub repo. So now this has made sure that we are able to make our changes on local device and upload it onto this space on the internet, which is a repository, so that other people can work on it. So now let's see. Now to enable you to create and push to your GitHub repository, there are some authentication that needs to happen, right? So, but just before that, let's go ahead and understand fully how our terminal works or command prompts, so we just don't get lost in things like this. So let me just close this for now. Now in our command prompts, a command prompt is basically, but just before that, please go ahead and show your love and kindness to me by clicking the subscribe button and the like button on this video. Thank you. So now let's understand how command prompt works. Now the command prompt is a program that allows you to communicate with your computer's operating system by use of commands. Now commands in this case are things that I type in here. They are called commands. So now this perform actions by simply running command instead of clicking around in your computer, right? Now let's say I want to create a new file. You remember the process I went through to create this? I had to open a text editor, create a new file, then save it. But what if I could do that using a simple command? So let's see how that's possible. So just before, let me open this and this side by side. So now There are a few commands you can learn how to use. There is the ls command. Ls is to list all the files you have in a folder, right? But just before that, let me cd into my repository test. Now I'm currently in this repository, this folder, right? This test repo, right? So you can see this test repo is also here. So this is the same folder that is open in these two windows, but this one is the terminal, this one is my file viewer, right? So now let's see some funny things that we can do here. When I list my files, you can see we have testfile.txt, right? So now that's the same file. You see the match, the same name. But now when I run ls, you can see this folder is not showing first. This folder is not being displayed in our terminal because it's an hidden folder. Now an hidden folder is defined when you have a dot before the name of the folder. You can see we have .git. Now this .git is a utility folder for the git repository. You don't have to understand how this works for now. We'll go into that in a moment. So now let me run ls-la. So now this one enables us to view our files, the permissions, and then the hidden files also. So let's see what happens here. Now you can see we have .git. But now you can see the color is a bit different. It's blue, not white like this one, which is the file. Now the reason why it's blue is because it's a folder. So now you can see we have the folder and everything that is inside of this repository there also. So now let's go ahead and create a file using our terminals. Let's say touch. Now touch is a command to create an empty file. So let's say touch hello. Now this should create a file for us. The touch is the command, right? But then the hello is the name of the file we're trying to create. So touch hello should create a file, and the file name should be hello. So enter, and now you can see we have the file here also. But the file is still empty, right? So let's go ahead and let's provide some text into the file. Now that takes us to a new command, which is the echo command. The echo command enables you to just like print out text, right? Now when I say echo hello, you can see it says hello to me in the terminal. But then what if I want to save the output of that command into a file? So let's say echo hello, the same command, right? But then I use this brackets, like this bracket for. So now when I use this bracket and provide the name of a file after it, let's say hello. Now this first hello is the text that I want to write. Let me change that so it won't get confusing. Let me go ahead and change this to my example text. So now this is the text I'm writing, and hello is the name of the file, like this file we have here. Now I want to write this text, my example text, into the file, which is the file name that is hello. Now when I run this command, you see nothing happened, right? But now when I go ahead and open up this text file, you see we have my example text was written into the file. So we've been able to create a file simply using our terminal, writing a few commands. And in some sense, it's actually faster and more efficient. And you're using this a lot as a developer. So you need to understand how these things work. So now let's go ahead and say, if I want to delete a file now, let's say if I want to delete a file in my computer, I would like right click and probably click move to trash to delete. But what if there's a faster way to do that? Now to delete a file using your terminal, you use the rm command. Now the rm command is quite different if you're on a Windows operating system. In the Windows operating system, you use the del command, which is to delete a file. Now rm is to remove a file. It's only used on Linux and Mac OS. Now rm hello. Now you can see it has disappeared, which means it has been deleted. But if you're on Windows, you run del and then the name of your file. But then if you are using for the ls command, you don't use ls on Windows also, you use dir. I forgot to talk about that. So dir, it's quite different on Windows. So dir to list your files on Windows. Now let's go ahead to the next command. To create a folder, to create a new folder, like if I want to create a new folder on my computer now, I use the right click. Let me say new folder. You can see now, then I type the folder name. So folder. Now you can see how long it took me to create a folder, but let me delete it. We don't need it just yet. But now when I want to create a folder in my terminal, I just run the mkdir. This is the same with Windows and Mac OS also. So mkdir means make directory. So just create a new folder for me. Now directory is the same thing as folder, right? So now mkdir, then the name of the folder you want to create. So my folder. Now you can see we have the folder also created here in our computer, right? So that works fine. Now the cd command is to change directory. If you want to open this folder now in your terminal, here just double click, right? But then in your terminal, what you do is run the cd change directory, and then you provide the name of the folder you want to go into. So now I say my folder. Now you can see here it's also appended. So now I'm currently in this folder, right? Now it's empty, so if I list my files now, you find nothing in there. If I say echo, or let's say touch, test, or tes, so no, wrong command. So touch test. Now it's created a test file for me. I can delete that back again by saying rm test. Now it's deleted. So now let's go back. But now what if I want to go back into it? If I want to leave a folder like the one I did right here just now, so what you just do is cd dot dot. So this goes back to the previous folder that you were. It leaves the current folder. So now when I run enter, you can see we are back to our previous folder. When I list my files, you see we have these files right here. But what if I want to delete a folder, right? The command for that is rmdir, and then the name of the folder, my folder. So now you see the folder is deleted, right? But now if you have files inside of the folder, let's go ahead and see what happens. mkdir test folder, cd test folder, entering the directory. Now let's say touch. Now there are two files in this folder, lo and I. Let me go back and try to delete this folder. So rmdir, and then the name of the folder, which is test folder. So now you can see rmdir failed to remove test folder because the directory is not empty. Now it's warning me that, okay, you are trying to delete a folder right now, but the folder is not empty. It contains files. So just maybe you made a mistake and you don't know it's not empty. It just lets you know that this folder is not empty. I cannot delete it. But now if you want to force delete it, you cannot say rm-r or rmdir-r, and then the name of the folder, which is test. No, dir. I got that wrong. So rm without dir, and then that works fine. It deletes the folder, right? So it removes all of the files that are in the folder before deleting the folder itself. So that works fine. Let's go ahead and see a few more commands. Now the cat commands helps you read the contents of a file. Now remember we have this file here, right? Test file. But what if I want to read that file in my terminal? Now I can say cat and then the name of the file, which is test file.txt. Now you can see this is the content of the file as the same that I created earlier. So now we can read files in our terminal also. But what if I want to delete? You've noticed a few times I have been removing all the contents on this folder. Let's say I have some things like this. Well, I want to clear all of this. I want to remove everything that's currently displayed on the screen. What you can do is run the clear command. Well, on Windows operating system, as usual, it's different. It's the cls command on Windows. So cls removes all the contents on your terminal, cleans it out for you, so you are now having a clean and blank screen. Or the shortcut you can also use again is Ctrl-L. It clears your terminal also for you, and then that's that. But what if I want to download the file, right? That's also one of the cool things you can do with your terminal. So let me go ahead and look for a file to download. Let me go to one of my platforms, my websites, a social media platform. You can check it out if you want to later. So this is a social media platform, enables you to create posts just like a mini Facebook, so to say. So now let's say I want to download this image. Let me open image in a new tab. So now you can see this is an image, right? This is the URL, the path to the image, like this is the image link. So let me go ahead and copy this. But what I want to do now is I want to download this image into my computer. So let me go back into my terminal, right? So now I use the wget. So this wget means I want to get something from the internet, right? I want to download the file from the internet. But then I provide the link to whatever it is that I want to get, and then enter. So now you can see blah blah blah, and then it has downloaded my image for me, right? So now let me see. You can see the image is now showing in my folder. Let me open it up. You can see we have the image is now showing, right? The same image that we had in the browser, right? So now you are able to download files into your terminal, into your computer using your command line interface. So that's fine. Let me close this. Let me close that also. Yeah. But now what if I want to also visit, let's say I want to see the contents of a web page, you can also do that, but we'll be going deep into that for now. Let's just take a look at a simple example. I have some click viral tech. So now you can see this is a web page, but it's something very simple and small. It only tells you hello world when you visit it. So now this is a response. But now if I want to see the same response in my terminal, what I do is okay, let me go back to my terminal. CURL, it allows you to check the contents of a web page. Now let me paste the link. So now you can see hello world also returns the response. So now we understand how to use our terminal, right? So now let's go back into Git and see some few interesting things we can do with the Git commands. Now we've been able to push to our Git, but now, as I said, it requires authentication. It needs to know that it's you that is using it. Well, for Windows users, right, it's very simple. You just need to clone your repository, run git push. It would, in the first time, or let's say the first time, when you run git push, it will wait for a little bit. It will open your browser, probably Edge or Chrome or your default browser. It will open it up and tell you to provide your password. So that's as simple as that. That's as simple as it gets for Windows. Then next time you run git push, it doesn't ask you for anything again. It just pushes. But for I think it's the same for Mac OS, but for Linux things are a little bit different. So let's say I want to make a git push. I need to get some things in order, like probably my personal access token or my SSH in this case. So let's go ahead and use the personal access token. So what you need to do is go to settings. From settings, you go to developer settings, yes. Then you click personal access tokens classic. But now you create a new token, generate a new token. So now this token is something that is very, 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 very important. It's basically something that gives people access to your repositories. So you need to protect it at all costs. I'll be deleting this token right immediately after because it's not safe as it's I'm recording it and uploading it to the internet. I'll be deleting it like immediately after. So now let me go ahead and provide my password and confirm. So now you can see the notes. You can leave this empty, but you need to just put something there. Let's say I actually don't think I leave it empty, but the note is for you to know what you created it for. You can create multiple tokens, right? But you need to know what it's for. So let's say test token. This is the expiration. After 30 days, it will be invalid, right? Well, let me make it a little bit less. You can choose whatever you want. You can choose it. You can choose that it doesn't expire. You can choose 7 days or whatever you want for it. But now for just the basics, you only need to click this first checkbox, and then you can continue to the rest of it. So let's go ahead and scroll all the way down and click generate token. Now this thing will provide a token, like a bunch of text that is really cryptic. Now you can see this is a token. When I click copy, now I can use this, right, to clone repositories whenever I want to use them. But now you cannot save this into a file on your computer. Like you can create a file so you can copy this from whenever you need it, because after now it will not show again. So you can just create a file and store this token inside of it, so you can use this whenever you want to clone into your repository. But now if you want to clone and you need to push, so let me go ahead and do something different. Let me say cd project. I'm going to the project folder, so let me clone my repository again using this personal access token, so I don't have to go through the stress whenever I want to push again. So let me go ahead and say git clone. So what you do now is HTTPS. You don't just copy and paste the link. Or let's go through that process. Let's say I want to copy my repository is github.com and then test repo, right? This is my repository down to clone. Let me go ahead and copy this and paste it to my terminal first. Now I'll go ahead, as I said, you need to save this into a file so you don't have to come here every time. So I copy this back and then you need to write. So what you go ahead and do is your username comes first, like after the double slash, you put your username, HRDOPE, and then double colon, and then you paste the personal access token that you copied. Then the next thing you do is provide the @ symbol. So now this is the way you clone securely in your computer. So now HTTPS, your username, which is mine is HRDOPE, and then colon, your personal access token at github.com / your username / your repo name. So this is the way it works. Now let me go ahead. You can see now we've cloned. Now let me change directory into test repo. Now list my files again. You can see we have test file.txt, the same one that we have in our computer. So let's go ahead and create a new file. Let's say touch and then test file 2. Now git add, as I said, you need to add it to the commit. Then git commit with the message. Don't forget the message. Git commit -m, and then your message, which is, let's say, commit number 2, then git push, right? So now when I go back to my repository, you can see it's pushed without any errors. So when I reload this page now, we have test file 2, right? So now this is just like the way you'll be working with GitHub repositories if you're writing code. So these files, let's say, are codes that we are writing, but for now let's leave it as normal text files. So now let's go back into our command line interface and learn a few more GitHub commands. So now you can see here we have a single branch, which is the default branch. So let's say I want to work on some updates, right? But I don't work on it here because it might damage this code. Let's go ahead and create a new branch. Now there are multiple ways to create a branch in GitHub. What you could do is you could, in your command line, in your command line terminal, you can, let's first actually see how we can create it here. Let's say view all branches. Now you can see we can create a new branch from here. Fine, provide the branch name and then continue. But it's more interesting when it's in a terminal, right? So let's go back into our terminal and say git branch. So now git branch command shows you all of the branches you have, branch, right? No mistake, git branch. So now this one is telling me that I only have one branch. But now let's go ahead and create a new branch that we can use. So let's say git -b, and then our branch name, which is test. I made a mistake there, I guess. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I forgot that. So now git checkout, yeah, git checkout. Oh, no. There are two ways. So git branch test. Now you can see it didn't return any errors, but now it has created the branch for us. Now when I run git branch without anything else in front of it, let's say git branch, now you can see we have main and test, which is the second branch we created. Fine. But now you can see this, it's different, right? Because this one is green and it's start. So this one is the active branch. We are currently in the main branch. That's why it's like this. Now let's see another way to create a new branch. Let's see the branch for checkout, check -b, and then the name of your branch, let's say test 2. So you can see not only did the not only is branch created, the branch was also changed. So now checkout enables you to change branches, right? Git checkout changes your branch into a different branch. But now you can see now we have the test 2 as the active branch. So now when I run checkout by default, git checkout main, when I run git branch, you can see now we are now in the main branch, right? When I use checkout -b, it creates a new branch, then switches the branch simultaneously. So that's how that works. Let's go ahead and see. Well, now let's see how git pull also works. Let me go back to my repository. But before that, let's go ahead and make some changes. Git checkout, I'm changing my branch to the test branch. Now let's make some changes, right? Let's say hi or test, and we created a new file, right? Let's say git add git commit test branch. Now git push and see what happens. Now you can see something is different. This is because we are not in our main branch. So when you want to push, you use git push origin and then the name of your branch. Now we have test. So now you can see we are pushed to our main branch. When I reload this page now, you can see now we have two branches, main and test. Let me go back to my repository default page. Now you can see we have 2 branches. Now, if you want to merge a branch, right, let's go ahead and see what you can do with that in a terminal. Let me say git checkout main. I have an error. So now I'm in the main branch, git branch. But now let's see how to merge our branches. Like you can now see here in this branch, I have 2 files. When I switch branches, I have 3 files in the second branch. Now we have 3 files, right? So now let's merge it into one. Now when I'm in the main branch, right? Then now I say git merge test. So now you can see it has merged our branch. Then when I run git push, now when I go back to my main branch, you can see we have 3 files also in the main branch because we've now updated it to become the same thing, right? Now let's see how we can merge branches inside of our GitHub repository also. So now let's create a new branch. Let's change to git checkout test2. So now you can see we are in the test2 branch. Let's go ahead and see what we can do to merge inside of our. So now that we have changed our branch to the test2 branch, let's make some updates and actually merge using a pull request inside of our GitHub page. So let's say toy file 3 git add dot, don't forget to commit git commit -m branch 3 git push. Now because we're not in our main branch, what we do is git push origin, then the name of our branch, which is test2. So now we've pushed to the test2 branch. When I reload my page, we have 3 branches now inside of our GitHub repository. Now to create and compare a pull request, let's click compare pull request. So now what this thing does for us is create a pull request. Let's say we are about 3 working on this project, 3 people. But now what I want to do is I want to make sure that someone else checks my code to verify that it's correct before we actually join it to our main branch, which is the main version of our code base. So let's go ahead and create a pull request. So now someone else, you can just assign this to someone else to check it and see if it's valid, it's correct, and test it. So now you can see all checks passed, blah blah blah. But now if you want to merge it now, what you can do is click merge pull request, and then you can provide some details. Let's say updated the create account function. So this is just like info about your the updates that were made inside of the branch. Now let's go ahead and click confirm merge. So now when I check my main repository, main branch, we have the 4 files present. So you can see we have file 3 also here because we've merged our branch. Now you can see we have 5 commits in our main branch. So now let's go ahead and see some other cool things we can do. So let's say you just update a file. Let me go back into branch git checkout main. Okay, an error. Checkout main. So now let's update a file. Let me list my files. So now you can see here now we have only 3 files, but in our main repository we have 4 files. That's because we made some changes inside of our GitHub repository, but in our local device it has not seen those changes. So what you do there is use the git pull command. Just make sure whenever you are trying to like update some code, you make sure you git pull first, so it pulls the latest changes so you don't have any issues. Now when I run git pull, it goes ahead and checks the remote GitHub repository and see if there were any changes to the one I have in my local computer. If there are changes, it goes ahead and updates the current one to the latest changes. Now when I run enter, you can see when I list my files again, now I have the 4 files. It's now the same thing with the remote GitHub repository, right? Now let's go ahead and update a file. Now I'll teach you one more ways to like edit files using your terminal. Let's say you can use the nano editor, nano, and then if you are using a Linux operating system, you might not have nano by default. You have to install it, but for now just forget about that. You can use vim editor also. Let's use vim. I think vim is pre-installed on most operating systems. let's say vim, and then the name of our file. The vim is a command line editor, right? Then the name of our file is file3. So you can see it's open up. I don't have vim actually, so vim is not installed. Let's install vim apt get install vim. My password. So this might take a few seconds to complete. Just wait it out. So now vim is successfully installed in a few seconds. So now I can see vim file 3. So now you can see we have the file is empty, right? Because we didn't create any files, we provide any text inside. So let's say L. Now before you begin to type into vim, right, you have to change some things. You have to type the I button to change it to input. Now you can see it's insert. Let me exit first. Let me exit. So now you see let's say I type my vim. So now you can see we have file here, right? But now before we begin to type and it works, let's say I begin to type q, it doesn't change anything. What you have to do is type the I button. So now you can see insert. Now I can begin to type into my file. Let's say hello world. I am a developer or coder. So now to save your file, use the escape : WQ, enter, and now you've saved your file. Now when I run git status again, you can see we've updated one file, modified file 3. What I do is git add dot. Now git add dot adds all your files, like all the files that you have. It adds everything simultaneously. It does not care where it is or what name it bears. Now git add dot adds all my files. Git commit -m I am a coder. Now git push. Now when I reload my files, when I reload my GitHub repository here, you can now see I am a coder is the latest commit, and when I check file 3, it contains the same text: hello world, I am a coder. So thank you so much for watching. This is all about GitHub, Git's version control system, and our command prompt or terminal. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching once again. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you everyone. Goodbye.